Good evening and welcome to the first ever virtual winter sports parent meeting. Before I go through this PowerPoint, I want to say that I hope everyone is staying healthy and safe during these unfamiliar times. I'm excited to begin to talk about the idea of coming back to school and the idea of athletics starting up again as we attempt to begin to feel some sort of normalcy in our world. However, I do have to say that even though we will begin signups for winter sports today on Family ID, we still do have some uncertainty from New York State as far as athletics go. As of right now, the only winter sports we can start are sports categorized by New York State Department of Health as low and moderate risk sports. They include bowling and boys swimming and diving. Indoor track is considered a moderate risk sport. However, Section 4 has canceled the season due to the lack of facilities to host the indoor track events. We still will be offering workouts for the varsity indoor track and field athletes only. Higher risk sports like basketball, wrestling, and competitive cheerleading are still waiting for guidance from Governor Cuomo and New York State to whether or not we will be able to start practices and games on January 4th. Governor Cuomo has stated that he will make an announcement by the end of this month. Another uncertainty we have is the state of Chemung County and being in the orange zone per New York State. For athletics, being in the orange zone means that if schools are remote only, then school-sponsored athletics are not permitted. However, this past Monday, Governor Cuomo announced that even if a school is in the orange zone, schools can begin in-person learning using the hybrid model if the district is testing 20% of the staff and students on a monthly basis. The Elmira City School District will be phasing the students who wish to come back to in-person learning starting this month and into January. I have reached out to the executive director of the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, Robert Zayas, to see if the new orange zone guidelines changes the regulations for athletics for those districts who are in the orange zone. He stated that New York State Public Athletic High School Association has not received any direction from New York State about schools that are still in the orange zone and able to have in-person learning. However, there has been no guidance has been provided prohibiting athletics from starting if a school is in a orange zone, but yet still in person as a result of testing while in the orange zone. I know that might not make a lot of sense. However, if we are back to in-person learning and still in the school zone, there are no rules prohibiting athletics that we know of at this time. So with that being said, we are moving forward and trying to be prepared for all athletes, parents, and coaches to begin practices for winter sports on January 4th. The athletic department will communicate with all parents if we are able to begin practices and if we are able to have games, and what the schedule will be if we are able to start up again in January. Once we have a final decision from New York State and Section 4, we'll be sending out communication to all of the student athletes, all of the schools, and all of the parents to what the schedule will be for the team's practices and tryouts. We are being very optimistic with the hope that we can begin again in January, and we'll be following the guidance from New York State and our section to what we can do next. So now I'd like to go through the parent PowerPoint. Winter season parent athlete information session. This year we had a few changes in our administration as Chris Rieger is the new principal of Elmira High School. Teresa Usack is now at Ernie Davis, and Carrie Rollins is at Broadway, the 9th grade academy. We did do a mission statement a few years ago with our coaches and athletes. Some of the core beliefs we believe that the athletic experience should provide opportunities to cooperate and respect others of various backgrounds with dignity and equality within a safe environment. We should show commitment and dedication is critical to our program in order to achieve a common goal, and striving for excellence in athletics, academics, and in the community guides the Express athletic program to obtain our maximum potential. Dr. Ken Sobel is still our Chief Medical Officer. We do have a new nurse practitioner, which is Melissa Montepoli. So we will work with her and the nurses to clear all athletes medically in order to participate in sports. Just a couple quick thing about School Tool. Please check with your school and the guidance office to make sure that all your information is up to date. We, through athletics, use school tool to send out our information and auto dialers with all the important information like we are tonight. So make sure that is all up to date and who you want the primary person to be. Physicals and additional paperwork. Family ID is where we do our signups. You have to be medically cleared by the nurse in order to be ready to participate. This includes concussion, head injury information, the pre-participation health history, which is on the Family ID website, private physician certification of your physical examination, and there are also now some new COVID-19 questions. You must be listed as approved on Family ID, just not listed as registered. Nurses will provide the athletes that have signed up and the proper paperwork turned in. This slide is in regards to physicals. You do have to have a physical within the past year, which would have been January 1st of 2020 until now, or January 1st of 2021, in order to be cleared to participate in sports. Family ID has all the information on there in regards to what the physical is and how to be approved to participate in athletics. There's a head and injury information form, health history form on there. You also have your physical examination, which I talked about. There was a waiver for the fall season from New York State Department of Education. They said you can waive the physical as long as they had it between 2018 in August and August of 2020. However, they did not extend that waiver to the wintertime. So they do have to have a physical between the dates of January 1st, 2020 and January 1st of 2021. So within the past year. This also talks about what I just mentioned about not extending the waiver that was listed. We do encourage that you use your family physician or an urgent care to get a physical if you already haven't done so. If that is absolutely not possible, please email Ann Mayer at the email below, amayer@elmiracityschools.com. We're getting a list of people who absolutely cannot get a physical. We're working to try to schedule sport physicals at the Beecher Clinic this year or this month with hopes that we could do that. We're still working through some logistical issues with COVID and not having all the kids back in school yet. But if you could just please email her and let her know if you absolutely cannot get a physical. If that's not possible, we'll try to set up a schedule. These are the directions on how to sign up on Family ID online. One thing I do point out is highlighted is to be sure to take a copy of your picture of both sides of your physical paperwork when you download it onto the website of Family ID. This is very secure. Everyone does need a password. The only one that has passwords in the district are the nurses and the athletic office. But you do have to have a picture of both the front and back of the physical when you download it into Family ID, and the nurses will be able to see that once you have that downloaded and finish your registration online. These are the winter sports that we're going to be offering. It is a little different from last year, just due to COVID and some issues with some of the guidelines that we have to follow as far as COVID goes. Boys swimming and diving for modified level, and boys and girls basketball and wrestling will be offered at the modified level. Boys swimming and diving, boys and girls bowling, indoor track and field will be workouts only, and then boys and girls basketball, wrestling, competitive cheer. If you notice, they are not approved yet by New York State to participate and have games and practices yet on January 4th, but we are expecting guidance by the end of the month, like I said in the opening. Schedule Galaxy is what we use for our practices and game schedule. This is the website you go to, and you could also sign up to get notifications when you go onto the team page. You click login to subscribe, and then top right-hand corner, you put your email in, and then for that team that you choose, anytime there is a change, you will get an email or notification that there has been a change to the schedule. So I encourage that everybody go to that website and use that website. It's a very, very user-friendly website, and it's done a lot of great things for us as far as scheduling goes. Here are some important dates. Today we're starting registrations to begin with Family ID. The first practices are scheduled to begin on January 4th for all JV and varsity sports, and then modified sports on January 11th. And like I said, there are a lot of ifs in there, but we are planning like we are going to have a season for at least bowling and swimming, and I am pushing as hard as we can for basketball, wrestling, and competitive cheer as well. But a lot of that is out of our hands. Like I mentioned earlier, we are just hoping that the state thinks about the kids when they make their decision. Winter break is February 15th this year to the 19th. There could be games played over there. I'm pretty sure they're going to schedule games over break. The league is working on the schedule right now as we speak. This is just a couple notes on educational athletics and the purpose and what we do as far as high school sports go. It really helps the ability to work with others. It's important in the real world to be able to work and get along with people that might not be like you, or you might not even like, but you have to learn how to work with them in a professional and personal level. So that's one thing that sports does. It also helps you be resilient in a market-driven competitive world. It also helps you handle criticism. One thing that is very hard for everyone to do is to handle criticism. I am the same way. Not everybody likes to hear it, but athletics helps you learn how to deal with that part of life when you do get criticism and that feedback and that constructive feedback and what that looks like. So that's an important piece of learning how to have some real life experiences and how to use them as we get older. And the last piece about the slide is dealing with stress or intense pressure. This is an example of a state championship softball game last year. Actually, this was 2 years ago now, where there were a ton of people watching a game with bases loaded and the pitcher at a 3-2 count on the batter in 2 different innings. And she had to pitch her way out of those both times, and they end up winning in the 10th inning and extra innings. And that type of pressure and stress is something that you really don't see, or you can't duplicate in a safe environment anyway. So these are just things that high school sports are intended to help to prepare the kids for the next level in their life, whether it's college or the real world. Some things on player development. High school athletics purpose to prepare athletes for the next level, whether it be modified to JV, JV to varsity, varsity to college, or whatever that next step is from varsity into your next step in life. New York State Public Athletic High School Association at the modified level does not even allow for awards or trophies. You know, it's nice to win, but they don't even give out trophies or ribbons or anything like that at the modified level. So it's really a learning process and what's best for educational athletics and the students at that time. And JV and varsity, we do have stack championships and sectional championships at the varsity level, as well as state championships. At the modified level, we're working on player and skill development. There is a minimum playing time for everyone, so they at least have to play, depending on what the sport is. I think it's 7 minutes for basketball, but there is a minimum, and everyone does get to play. We don't focus on winning; it's more development of the student athlete and the kid as an overall, and preparing them for the next level. At the JV level, playing times may vary. They try to get everybody in if they can. It's not guaranteed. There's a little bit more of higher accountability for the student athletes. A little bit more emphasis on year-round workouts. I know that's very hard to do, but our coaches do a nice job of trying to offer that. At least in a normal year, we would do that. This year has been a struggle, as we all know, but again, it's real life, and that's things that we have to learn to move on, and hopefully we get to do that very soon. At the varsity level, it is very competitive. There's mostly year-round workouts for all those varsity sports. It really puts the student athlete in how to better manage their time, whether it's academics is always first, so they have to manage their academics, and if they have a job or if they have other duties, plus the importance of being on a team and being a student athlete. Not everybody gets to play in the game. The coach is playing everybody who they think is going to give the best opportunity to win. And Ben Hogan, he is a famous golfer, said, if you can't outplay them, you can outwork them. And there is nothing bad can happen if you work too hard. Here's just some advice for parents and spectators, focus on and what to focus on. Did your son or daughter play hard? Did you do your best? What do you remember from the game? What did you like about the game? What do you think you need to work or improve on from that game or practice or half the season or whatever? I wouldn't focus on how much time did you play and what were your stats? How well did you do? It's more, everything is working on getting along and how to be a better student athlete and teammate to everyone around you. This is called Mind of the Athlete. And really in these times, this is really it's been a stressful time the past 6-7 months. for a lot of people during this COVID. And Mind of the Athlete is something we adopted 3 or 4 years ago. It helps improve the emotional health of student athletes. There's a lot of resources on this website. If you were to go to this link, there's a ton of resources out there you could use. And it helps student athletes. If you have a student athlete that plays 3 sports in a year, plus is in National Honor Society and taking ACE classes, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of stress. And there's a lot of skills and lessons in this website that you could use. Our coaches all have access to this as well. We have downloaded the entire program onto our district. I think it's the iDrive, where the coaches have access to that and can get numerous activities or lessons or ideas or things that we can do to help with your son or daughter if there are any issues. And even if there aren't any issues, it's good to have the emotional health be very important for our student athletes. One of the things we are very proud of is being one of the New York State Public Athletic High School Association Scholar Athlete Team Award. Last year, if we were to have a spring season, we counted, I believe it was 17 out of 24 of our varsity teams would have made this goal, which was 90% overall average, where 75% of that team had a 90 average or higher. And 17 out of our 24 teams would have achieved that last year. So that's the first goal that we look for in the athletic department and as coaches when we talk about commitment to academic and athletic excellence. I would talk to the head coach, the varsity head coach, about college-bound athletes if you're interested in playing at the next level. I think our coaches do a great job of communicating with college coaches and giving a realistic view of where your student or your child, son or daughter might be as far as college athletics go. Every academic year counts. So we talk about 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, make sure you're getting your work and getting high grades then, because if you do want to become a college athlete, if you have 2 athletes that are very similar and the colleges are going to look at your grades and transcripts, they're obviously going to take the student athlete with a higher average and more well-rounded resume. This is just some numbers from the next level. Around 6% of student athletes across the country participate in college athletics. 1% of those receive a scholarship to participate in college athletics. Only 0.1% of college athletes sign a professional contract to complete their respective professional sport. However, on the flip side, to go to college, if your son or daughter wants to go to college, 60 to 70% of student athletes receive an academic scholarship. So just by looking at those numbers alone, you can tell that it's much more important to have higher grades and to play a sport, as you have a much better chance to receive money for college based on an academic scholarship than an athletic scholarship. And I think it's important to look at that number because, as you know, colleges right now are very, very expensive. It costs a lot of money. There's a lot of grants. There are ways to help pay for that college, but an academic scholarship is one to look at where, 6 or 7 out of every 10 kids has that opportunity. I'm going to pause and then share the screen again with some statistics per sport that I thought was important. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see this. This is the most up-to-date information we have as far as high school athletes who are going to compete in college athletics from the last year. Obviously, 2019 and 2020 was a much different year. So this is from 18-19, I believe. And this is just by sport. It talks about different high school athletes that went on to play college athletics. So if you look at just baseball alone, it's 7.5, but then Division I, it was only 2.2 or 2.3 for Division II or 2.9 for Division III. So these numbers just show, and you can look this up on that link that is also on the PowerPoint slide if you want to go through this into more detail. But this just goes to show the percentage of student athletes that go on to play these sports in college. I'm going to scroll down because there is one little bit here. It talks about the probability of competing in professional sports. And it just really talks about men's, the pro sports of baseball, men and women basketball, football, and men ice hockey. If you look at the probability, it's very, very low. But at the same time, we don't show these numbers to discourage the student athlete. We do that to show that it's very hard to do, but at the same time, you should be working extra hard, because if that is your goal and that is your dream, you know what you have to do to achieve that dream. You need to work harder than the person next to you. You need to work harder than the person in the other city, harder than the person in the other state. So a lot of people have that goal to play college athletics or to go on and play professional athletics, which is great. We love to see that. But you have to work hard for it. And this is just some numbers to look at and just some facts to look at. And anybody can be that 2.2% if you want to play Division I baseball. But we tell them to keep working hard, still shoot for your dreams. This slide talks about social networking, and really it's a lesson we learned in kindergarten. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't post it. You know, we love to see the positive posts for Express Athletics. You know, if you're on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or any of those social media networks, you know, put something positive up there. Talk about what a great job our team did, or what great sportsmanship they showed. That's one of my goals, is to say what great student athletes we have and how positive they are, no matter what happens in the game. So same thing goes here. Please don't post anything negative. There are some consequences in the code of conduct if there are some issues violating any of those code of conduct rules. These are just some policies and procedures. We have the parent guide, which will be on Family ID when you log in. You will electronically sign that. Obviously, you can't use tobacco or alcohol or any illegal drugs are allowed. You do have to be in school on the day of a game or a practice in order to participate. If you have a legal excuse that's non-illness, that's okay. Just make sure you get the paperwork turned in to the main office. Teams do have their own rules on top of the code of conduct, so please, we would ask you to follow them, and the coaches will go over them when they talk with you. There's a SAC and a Section 4 sportsman policy that is for players and spectators that we expect all players and spectators to follow. And same with the district campus rules and regulations. And if spectators are allowed this year, which I'm hoping they are, I have a plan in place to follow guidelines if we can have spectators at games, if we have games, that we expect everyone to follow those social distancing and the New York State Department of Health guidelines. Transportation, we do provide transportation to and from contests. All athletes are required to ride the bus to the away contest. Some teams have the rule that they want their team to ride to and from the contest, which is fine, and we honor those rules. However, some coaches do allow a student athlete to sign out with a parent or guardian, and you do have to sign out on the sign out form. And so you have to sign out with your parent or guardian. You cannot sign out with somebody else's parent or guardian. That's just the way it works. If there are some extenuating circumstances, we ask for pre-approval. You can email me ahead of time that I can't make it on the bus for this reason. If there's a funeral in Binghamton and we have a game in Binghamton, you could ask for special permission to just stay there and drive your son or daughter to the game. Or same deal with driving somebody else home. If you want to drive somebody else home, we need permission from that person or student athlete's parent or guardian before the game or before that day. We have a mid-season review, which is kind of like a parent-teacher conference for all coaches. We offer 2 to 3 days in the middle of the season. It will come pretty quick this year because it is a shortened season, where you have the opportunity to go meet with your coach. The coach offers some days and times where you set up a date to go and talk, and the meeting is to be focused on your son or daughter's skills, strengths, weaknesses, and how to improve. It's just a better way to communicate efficiently with parents. Uniforms. Team uniforms are purchased through the school district budget. They must be turned in to the coach at the end of the season. We are not allowed to sell these to families. I know that question is asked a lot, but because they are purchased through the school district, that we have to have them back. We can direct you to how to buy a different one that is similar or very the same where we bought them from. But if uniforms are not turned in, the district can send a letter home and then bill the family for reimbursement to the district. This just talks about respect, and I think Elmira and the Express community do a great job, an unbelievable job, to be honest with you. When I travel around New York State in Section 4, you know, I hear some things that are said in the bleachers and in the stands, and out in the fields. And I think we do an amazing job of showing respect. You know, it starts with administrators, coaches, players, and the families and spectators. We show respect, show positive community pride all the time. And that's one thing we tell our student athletes. Once you're an Express athlete in that family and community, you're there all the time. So if you're wearing a soccer hoodie or a baseball hoodie, or you're out in the community, you know, we expect that you be a good community member. Always respecting the opponents during games, or the officials and workers of the opposing spectators, showing sportsmanship overall. It just builds a positive culture and a positive outlook for our district and the community. And this is the last slide, really just talks about building a successful program. It takes coaches, athletes, and parents all to achieve that goal, show positive rapport with the parents. It takes everyone involved, just not the coach. Positive communication with the parents and spectators for mutual support, create an experience for the athletes' personal growth, character, behavior, teamwork, and communication that exceeds their athletic accomplishments, and it helps develop and cultivate high character individuals on the team. That's our goal. You know, going home to the dinner table and talking about another player on the team, or what a terrible job the coach did, you know, that just doesn't help. That doesn't help build a positive and successful program. You know, and if there are those issues, like I said, we have times our coaches have an open door policy. You can contact them. You'll have their cell phones. If there's any issues, you call them, and we can set up meetings in that way. But I can say that's one thing. This is my 9th year as athletic director in Elmira City School District. I graduated from EFA. I taught at EFA, and then I worked in Elmira City School District now for my 22nd year here now. And I'm very proud of this community and the school district for all the things that has happened over all these years. And I am proud of the work that we do in these student athletes when we are out in different communities or just in our own community. So that's one thing that I like to tip the hat to all our parents and athletes and coaches and staff, because they do a great job. So with that being said, that concludes the parent information night. Like I said before, I am really hoping, and I'm trying to be positive, that we will have a season starting January 4th. We will wait for more guidance from Governor Cuomo in New York State that we have basketball, competitive cheer, and wrestling. I'm really hopeful, and I'm hopeful that that we get to do all those things in January. So as always, if you have any questions, you can call our office, and on the first slide has a number, or email at any time. Our door is always open. Thank you, and have a good weekend.